If you could choose how you die, how would you choose? Story 1. I passed out multiple times last year from chemo, causing sudden low blood volume to my brain due to dehydration. It was painless and I never would have known if I died. I told my husband if I go this way to be grateful that I had a painless death. Story 2. Hospice nurse here. Death isn't painful once you are actively dying. It's probably pretty pleasant, or more like when you are just going under anesthesia. Your body knows how to die. It's like giving birth but in reverse. There's a physiological process and your body knows how to do it to protect you, like the endorphins flood and other chemicals. It's whatever is leading up to the death. The worst deaths are long time stays in ICU, followed by peg and trach, followed by rotting forever in a vegetable patch, then dying when your body has had enough. That and painful cancers. Story 3. My family member was a volunteer at a hospital and had an arrest there. He had all the heroic things done and ended up in a nursing home for a few years, unable to move, speak, or follow instructions, on a feeding tube until he passed from pneumonia. When I worked in nursing homes, I saw so many lingering people who wanted to go. They said they were ready. One lady would cry and say, "God forgot me here." I'm hoping to be able to mix a nice drug cocktail, toast my family and friends, and slip away after a nice little party in my honor. Hopefully when I'm very old, not demented, and not yet too sick that I can't care for myself. If I can't have that, I'll take the massive heart attack in my sleep, or at least alone. I either want to choose exactly when and how I go, or not see it coming and have it be sudden and efficient. Story 4. Monoxide poisoning. I just wonder. OH man, you'd have quite the time. First, you'd start feeling lethargic, sad, gloomy. Every time you'd leave your house, though, you'd start to feel better. Eventually, you'd come to realize your house is haunted. You occasionally see a ghost here and there. Weird sounds. Strange lights. You're being Beetlejuice. Then it starts to become truly terrifying. Somebody keeps sneaking into your house while you sleep. Either that or the ghosts are poltergeists and can manipulate the physical world. Whoever or whatever this is keeps coming in and rearranging your furniture. They leave cryptic notes. They're sending emails to your boss. They hacked your computer. They're eating your food, and then they took all the knives in your house and made a circle around your bed. Right around this point, you're trying to solve the mystery of who or what is doing all this, and you've got some really interesting theories you've been writing down. One really good one is, it may to be Tai Blau no or Mr. 6 of the Dyson choice to do. That's probably the answer. But writing that has made you pretty tired, so you go to sleep for a little nap and die. Story 5. With my husband. Long illness. Terminal. We both have had a chance to accept it and say what we need to say. And I'm nestled in his arms because that is the only place I feel at peace, and I want to leave from that place. But that's selfish. I don't think I'd want to put him through me dying in his arms. But yeah. I just go wrapped around him in the happiest place I've ever been, and I leave the world smelling him and feeling him. Damn. Now I'm sad. I have to go hug him now. Fuck this question. Loving someone sucks. Not loving someone sucks. This is why I envy psychopaths. Anywho, that's what I'd want my last memory to be, and then give me a shit ton of diluted. Story 6. In my sleep. Or some heroic act like saving puppies from being hit by a car or fighting a kangaroo holding a dog hostage in the river. That would be something awesome so people can remember me as a hero. Story 7. I'm in a big-ass mansion surrounded by billions of dollars worth of stolen artwork. I'm in a fur coat, smoking the fattest cigar you've ever seen. I've never smoked before. There's wine spilled everywhere. It looks like blood. Light jazz trance dance music is playing and the police are surrounding outside my mansion. I take a swig of wine and spit it out on the paintings before me. I take the deepest fucking inhale of smoke, and I pass away quietly, looking up at the dark ceilings of my mansion, pretending that I am in space floating away. My mansion explodes and no one is hurt. The artwork survives and the HOA will never be the same. Story 8. I guess if I have to choose, an OD would likely be a good death. Or hanging oneself, gently. Not that I plan either unless I'm too sick to want to carry on, and for now I am healthy and happy. I think in reality I'd like to be in control of it more than to fall victim to it. I am not sure why more people don't feel this way. I'll tell you briefly why. You have this perspective of life, your life. It's a certain scale, scope. If your consciousness diminishes, so does your perspective. You may remain yourself, but you may be able to exist within your diminished consciousness, so you choose life. With senility and of course dementia, this occurs constantly, and there comes a point at which you lose your perspective and generally won't be fully capable of thinking, do I want to live like this at all? Or at least loved ones won't be able to know what you are capable of thinking. A brilliant persona might end themselves if they became too diminished to have meaningful conversations, but once there they almost can't think precisely that way any longer, so if they recall thinking that at all they will move the goalposts, but not from cowardice or because they didn't know themselves, but because in a way they become a totally different consciousness. Story 9. Like my Nan died. The day my Nan died, she had packed her bags for a short trip. She kissed us all goodbye and told us she loved us. She boarded the coach with her friends, and a laugh all the way to the hotel. When they got there, she had a wonderful meal and drinks with them all, in spectacular surroundings. She went up to bed and died peacefully in her sleep. I mean, the paperwork associated with dying on holiday is a nightmare, but that's a living person problem, not a dead person one, lol. Story 10. As a friend of a friend did. He was in his 80s and riding quietly around the fields on his favorite horse, who was in her 30s, very elderly for a horse. She dropped dead of a heart attack or similar, and he broke his neck as she hit the ground. The pair of them were dead within seconds, and I like to think they shook themselves and rode straight on together into whatever comes next. Quick, painless, and doing something you love at a great age. Story 11. As I watch the last star in the universe go dark, I step on a Lego on the gravity floor of my spaceship and accidentally fall onto the antenna of a piece of space equipment my wife had been telling me for space weeks to move, and impale the last non-AI portion of my brain. Story 12. 99 years old. Single vehicle car crash at 140 mph. Flames. The smell of dude BQ wafting through traffic. Burned paper currency floating down like embers at the edge of a forest fire. Across town, confused detectives wonder why the bank robber left a banana cleaner in the bathroom while changing into his assless gimp suit. I want to make my children proud. You know, leave a legacy so future generations will talk about me when I'm gone. Story 13. A couple of years ago, I passed out in my kitchen and started waking up after at least an hour on the floor, my German Shepherd licking my face and nudging me awake. Turns out I had some kind of cardiac electrical event, an anomaly in the timing of the different contractions, etc. It was painless and sudden. So, like that, or a heroin ball. Story 14. You know when you were around 13, and you were at your best friend's house? It was summer, so you didn't have to be up early for anything, and you got set up in the basement or garage, or living room with special permission to stay up late and play video games or watch movies. You got an entire pizza all to yourself, and even though you weren't allowed to drink Pepsi at home, you got some that night. 11:30 was maybe the latest you'd ever stayed up, but you didn't realize how much fun you were having because you and your best friend got the farthest you've ever gotten in your game. It's now about 3:15 a.m. and you're a little nervous you'll get in trouble for staying up too late, but you can't stop laughing hysterically at some terrible joke your friend made. Some goofy thing on the TV that's only funny because you've been awake the longest you've been awake in your life. The laughter is contagious, and the pure physical exertion tiring your abdominal muscles out is what causes you to finally lay down. The hard floor with a few blankets and a few pillows on it has suddenly become the most comfortable thing your body has ever felt. Your limbs start to slow down, even though you're not even moving. You grow heavier into your makeshift bed as your sugar high crashes and your overexerted body begs for sleep. You stare at the TV for as long as you can force your eyes open, not wanting the laughing and goodnight to end. But eventually, involuntarily, sleep comes. And laying there just feels like the happiest you can remember being in a long while. Like, a half second after all that happened is when I'd want to go. Story 15. I had a brilliant college professor in 1988 who asked on the first day of class, "Do you want to live forever?" After a little murmuring and discussion, the consensus of the class was no, we don't want to live forever. Given that nobody here wants to live forever, the professor continued, "What do you want to die from?" After some more discussion, the large class was unanimous. We wanted to die of a heart attack, and definitely not cancer. Well, given that you all want to die of a heart attack, why do we spend more money on heart disease research than on any other illness? It was a fair question. Story 16. Something quick and painless like maybe a burst aneurysm or blood pressure bottoming out, hopeful while laying in bed. I'd love to go to sleep and pass peacefully. I'd love to know approximately, within a 6-month range, when I would be passing to get my things in order. But I don't want to consciously know that I'm dying when it happens. I don't think I'm one of those people who will face death heroically. I'm pretty sure I would be crying and begging God not to take me. Story 17. I think I'm one of the few people who'd say I'd rather die of an illness than a quick death. Obviously, ideally, I'd like it to be an illness without much pain or suffering, but I really struggle with the idea of having no knowledge that I'm about to die. I'm quite an anxious person, and I take the suffering of a terminal illness over the worry of leaving things undone. P.S. I'm sure someone will say something along the lines of live each day like it's your last, which is a lovely sentiment, but not remotely realistic. If I knew I was dying, I'd make elaborate purchases, do things with long-term consequences, risk my health, etc. If I did that and still had a life ahead of me, I'd be buggered, lol. Story 18. My end-stage capitalism retirement plan is to save up for a little Cessna and spend the last 20 years of my life a bush pilot in Alaska. When that gets boring, I'll fly into a mountain. Just kidding, I want to die in the arms of my woman, surrounded by my kids and grandkids watching The Simpsons' first 10 seasons on repeat. Story 19. Either euthanasia/heroin overdose, or we all know that one person in movies/shows that does something where everyone's like, no, don't do it, but then it works out and everybody's happy? That guy, but I don't make it. That way at least my death meant something. Story 20. Fiery explosion. Completely serious. It's probably related to my fear of drowning, but I want to go out fast and loud. A plane crash or train accident sounds so much easier to reconcile in my final moments than helplessly succumbing to asphyxiation. My wife hates that I have stated this in the past and still ride a motorcycle. But I'm so unlucky I almost consider it insurance to say I want something to happen. Story 21. Maybe I die. Skydiving explosion. And then Chris Traeger goes and marries April. And it makes me sad, but if she's gonna be with somebody, I'd like it to be Chris. Only I didn't really die. I was faking it. And I come back. I spy on them from my red Corvette. And I'm planning to kick his ass, but I see how happy he makes her, and I have to walk away. I have to. And I do, slowly. In a rainstorm. But as time goes by, it eats away at me. He's out living it up with my wife. And I'm alone. In a cave. Training. Story 22. I got hit head-on by a box truck a few weeks ago on my motorcycle. I don't remember anything about it, really. The worst part was waking up in the ICU with my leg in traction for my broken femur. That's when the pain started for me, though they say I was conscious at the scene. So, I'd say that. Dying doing something I enjoy, unsuspectingly. Story 23. I've had spells of passing out before. It's like the walls close in and nothing. I don't feel anything while I'm out, but leading up to it, it's like a sudden relaxing feeling. If I died while I had one of those episodes, I don't think it would be the worst way to go. I would feel it about to happen suddenly, then it would happen, I'd pass out, then it would be over. All in a few seconds. Story 24. I hope this reaches as many folks as possible. I have been a therapist and a nurse covering many specialties all of my life. Death was part of all my work for over 40 years. Having experienced and read so much, I would first offer some time to answer, but also share an impressive author, Dr. Eben Alexander, a neurosurgeon well-trained, with substantial experience who authored a few books based on 1 week of his life, in a coma due to meningitis, who woke describing very clearly an afterlife journey involving people, places and events, information not available to him prior. In fact, the event itself, cognitive processing, recall of details given his illness has no precedence or explanation, impossible by known brain dysfunction. Prior to his writing, his son suggested to eliminate bias he not read or consult any sources, just jot down his journey, beautiful, peaceful, and guided by a predeceased, unknown to him, adopted at an early age no connections, angel who took his hand and introduced a world for those of us who depart. Eben Alexander, MD, who up to that week, intellectualized near-death stories shared by patients, politely listened, supported as a caring doc would, but not endorsed as reality without scientific evidence. But published a book, later two others supporting evidence of the proof of heaven. Until reading this journal, I too was an unspoken critic, focused on the last remaining earthly time, making the best of every last breath. Now though retired, motivated to share, read and please scrutinize, substantial evidence of a real place, at the very least a beginning from a former skeptic, a neurosurgeon, now believer. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe.